Hello. On our podcast today, we have a special guest, Devarajan sir, a very senior and accomplished leader who has been the force behind TATA ELXSI and then Cisco, now runs a consulting firm, is on the board as an independent director on multiple big names, which will include, let's say, a Tata Play, etc. Welcome to the show, sir. And
Thank
sir, a
you.
very quick question about your formative years, about your journey, so that we have some context around, what it took to take you where you are.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anurag. It's my pleasure and privilege to be part of your show today. And whatever little I heard about you, that you're primarily based in Kolkata.
Yes, sir.
And incidentally, that is a place very close to my heart because I was born and brought up in Kolkata. And the first 25 years of my life, I lived in Kolkata because
Okay.
my father was in the railways and his posting was in Kolkata at the Eastern Railways. So I did my
Fairly.
schooling and yeah, fairly place. Yeah. Mm.
Okay. Okay. So, sir, which school and college did you study in Calcutta from?
So I went to Don Bosco in Kolkata and then went on to study at IIT Kharagpur.
Okay. Coincidentally, I'm
Yeah.
also from Don Bosco, Lilwa, much junior to you, 2003 batch.
I am also Lilua.
Oh, you're from also Lilwa only. Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Railway colony,
Great.
na?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
I stay
Mm.
near to that place only. Okay,
Oh,
cool. Okay. So you
small
went to
world.
IT Kharagpur and then you started your stint with the Tata Group.
No, I actually, through campus, I got placed at HCL. That was my first company where I worked, and HCL was then called Hindustan Computers Limited.
Okay.
And I was maybe the 65th employee or 70th employee of the company, and it was a startup for me those days, right? So when one didn't know what startups were, I was already working in a startup. So that was my first job, and then I continued there for a few years and worked in Delhi, worked in Kolkata, then worked in Madras, now Chennai, and then I moved on to another company called International Computers. It is not there now. It has been bought over by Fujitsu, and subsequently to a Tata company called OMC Computers. I was in Bangalore and Hyderabad, and then Tata Elx.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, sir, like when you took over Tata Elxsi, it was like bleeding, and
absolutely. Yeah,
you have been credited with the turnaround of the company.
true.
So, if you could just take us through that, because that can be a very crucial management lesson where one goes into a ship which is possibly sinking, or maybe where there are fires which need to be doused. So how do you identify the problem areas? What did you do exactly, and how magical was that transformation for this company?
It was magical. I wouldn't say it was pure magic because there was a lot of effort, dedication, commitment that went into the turnaround. So it was not like abracadabra and it happened. So, like you
Okay.
rightly said, people generally jump out of sinking ships. And here I was who jumped into one at the behest of my then chairman of Tata Elxsi, Mr. F.C. Kohli, who actually hired me into the job. And he said, why don't you come over and take on the mantle of heading sales and marketing and see how we can turn around this company, which has been bleeding like crazy. We were almost at very, very low revenues, and negative profitability, deep in the red, and almost getting into chapter 11. That's I would say the time
Okay.
frame when I joined this company. Those days they used to call it BIFR.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And then how
So
did you identify what were the
then
problem
we
areas
realized
and how
that,
did you solve?
to turn around this company, there were two things that we had to do. One is look at the business that this company was doing. What were they doing? How were they doing? And what was the future of that? And one realized that if we continue to do the business the way they were doing in terms of addressing the enterprise markets, the big business houses, giving them all the enterprise kind of solutions, I said, this is not going to fly for too long because it's already kind of burdened with competition. There are so many companies doing the same thing in India itself, providing solutions to big business houses or enterprise businesses in the areas of financial accounting, manufacturing systems and inventory and those kind of traditional classical solutions. So we said, let's do something very different and which no person has done before in this country. So that's how we changed our complete strategy, rebuilt a new strategy to address markets which were never addressed before. And I said, if we don't do that, we will keep running and then we will sink because you can get run over by competition. So we moved into these areas, niche areas like engineering, design solutions, design thinking solutions, animation, VFX, and simulation for the space and defense organizations. So very niche markets. And I also realized that no other Indian company were doing these things. So you can be number one in that business going forward. And we were, and we continue to be number one. If you look at Tata ELXSI today, there's nobody else to come close to runners up in that kind of business after 25, 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had to actually, build a strategy, and we realized the strategy started working and customers believed in us and our strategy. Then revenue started growing, profits happened. And then I realized my team was also motivated because of these outcomes. And then we started going on a roll.
So in terms of numbers, if you could just help us quantify what was the kind of scale at which the transformation happened in terms of, maybe what was the kind of losses that you were facing and how you steered it to profits.
If you look at actual numbers, they may look pretty pathetic in today's world. So I will tell you, when I joined the company, we were having a revenue of about 11.5 crores. To give you a comparison, the same year, Infosys had a revenue of 30 crores.
Oh, so it was almost like 40% of Infosys.
Yeah, but still, we were on a loss of about almost 30 crores.
Oh.
29 crores. So
and then
we moved up. See, because the numbers, if you look at it in today's terms, it looks very minuscule. That's why I gave you a comparator of what Infosys was, because people know that number. And then we moved almost doubling our revenues year over year, doubling our profits, and we declared our first dividends in about 4 or 5 years.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you were there till 2001.
I was at it. Yeah.
So that time you left it in a very comfortable state.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Sir, coming to a question that you were like one of the youngest directors in the Tata Group at that time. And there's this Gen Alpha who is the typical audience for this show, who also wants to achieve things very fast. But on those days, the gray hair that one possessed was a very important metric to qualify to be in the boardroom. So then did age ever work against you when you were inside that room? Did people said he's too young, inexperienced?
Yeah. So what you should remember about Tata is Tata is a very professional organization. Okay. One. Yes. Two is, when I say I was one of the youngest directors, it was them who hired me to that position. It is not that, I walked into that boardroom or I walked into Bombay House and said, I am now the director of this company. It was a lot of people with a lot of gray hairs who decided that I should be on the board of the company. Yeah. So it was not something of my doing, it was of their doing, right? So once they put me on the seat, then it is up to them to see how they ensure that I perform. But what the Tatas actually do, they are very open and very different from, I don't know so much about, I can't comment on other corporates and other business houses, but you are always listened to, you are always heard, and they seek ideas from you, they seek your plans and what you want to execute going forward, how you want to do it. They hear the high level 40,000 feet story from you. Then after that, they do not interfere. My board never interfered. I supply them with information on our performance, on the outcomes, and what we were planning. Here are we with respect to our plan, at the quarterly board meetings or even in between, whether it is the board or Mr. Ratan Tata himself, they used to monitor it closely because this company was something that required monitoring at that point in time, not so much later. So the decisions and all the bets they place on you and expect you to deliver, and which happened. So nothing to do with gray hair, black hair, and all that. No, that can always be changed depending on how you color it.
I agree because when I was in Tata Steel, our super boss, Mr. Kaushik Chatterjee, also was into Tata Sons at a very young age.
Uh-huh.
So Mr. Ishat Hussain had been his mentor,
Yeah.
and so he had also got a very good reception. But generally there is this thing that one might say that age works against you, but as you said that they are very professional, and since they were the one who put you in
Right.
that seat, they expected that
Yeah.
you will call the shots once they are convinced about the high level story.
Correct. Ishat was in
Now, sir, coming
Jamshedpur,
to
right?
this book that you wrote, Designed to Win.
Huh.
So when you actually sat down to write this book, were there some decisions from those years which looked very different on paper than they felt in the moment when you actually started implementing? So what was this whole experience that you jotted down on this book?
Okay. Uh, Actually, if you look at it, the way the book has come out after I wrote it, nothing looked very different from then and now in terms of
Okay.
decisions, in terms of strategy, in terms of direction. Nothing actually. What we did then and succeeded would, I believe, be the same formula if we repeat it today. We will still succeed because, see, a strategy and a direction is something virtual. It has nothing to do with a time. You have to capitalize on the moment and not a particular time and place. And that is what we did. And if you look at the strategy and direction that we strived and gave, I would say, for Tata ELXSI 25, 30 years ago, continues to be the same today after 3 decades. The business that Tata ELXSI does today is no different from the business we started doing. Those 4 business verticals that I talked to you about, they're still in the same direction as in design-led automation, automotive business, healthcare business, media business, the same businesses that we started doing then. The business model would have changed, the business would have changed in terms of technology, but the direction has not changed.
And what
Yeah,
were, you must have written your heart out on that book. So in terms
absolutely.
of, there would be two components to my question. So there would be one chapter that you would be very, very proud about, some incidents that you wrote. And then there would be some elements that you would have written on that book where you were uncomfortable to write a chapter in terms of things that went wrong, things which didn't work out as per your plans. Because in that larger success story, there would be those mini inflections of failure as well. So if you could help us understand so that the user understands what he or she can expect once they read that book.
Yeah. So first thing first, I think Anurag, you and all my viewers here should pick up a copy of the book and read it. It's a book that you can read in about 2 hours, 3 hours. It's so
Okay.
racy, it is so exciting that you will not put it down once you start it. One. Two is whatever has been said in the book, I would say is very, very candid. Like you rightly said, I would have said it if you had not said it. It all has been written from my heart. It is not something which has, thought of, researched so much. Whatever happened in my life at Tata ELXSI is there. And that is, it's, I would say, it's a story of a love affair and marriage of me with Tata ELXSI. That's a story. So you'll find everything very candid there, very transparent there. And I have stated all the good things that happened, the not so good things that happened, all that is stated very openly. So I did not really feel uncomfortable at any point in time saying, oh, should I write this? Should I not write this? Or whatever, everything is there. It's very candid. And it's not like a textbook, like a management textbook or a leadership textbook. It's very, very transparent and very clear, and it's like a storybook of sorts for entrepreneurs, CXOs, and the likes.
Yeah, fine. I actually will now love to read this book.
You
So,
should, you
sir,
should. Next
one
time you
thing is
come
also
for a flight into Bangalore, you'll be able to finish the book on the flight.
sure, sure, sure. So, sir, then after this stint till 2001, you also moved to Cisco and you built the largest
Huh,
R&D center in Bangalore, which was like the largest center outside the US. Now,
correct.
when you ran the Indian company, which is Tata's, vis-a-vis a global MNC, so in terms of comparing, in terms of learnings that one would have as a professional, how would they stack up against each other?
Um, I would say, corporate cultures are a little different. If you look at, I'm talking about an American multinational. I'm not talking about, see, European multinationals are different. Asian multinationals are different. Japanese multinationals are very different. So I'm talking about, since you asked about Cisco, I would say an American multinational, specifically so Cisco, because I've worked very closely with them. And the business model, the functionality is very different from the way Indian corporations work, because they believe in very verticalized business models rather than a flat organization. Each one becomes a business. I say if I compare it with the Tata ELXSI, if I'm in the media business, that will become a complete vertical of, if it is in Cisco, where they will say, I will have a P&L manager, I'll have a general manager to look after the business, and that is run irrespective of how the other organizations run. They'll have their own finance, accounts, everything, independent. There's nothing so horizontal about these companies. That's the way they work. So what happens because of that? You don't have too much of cross-functional teamwork. Unlike in Indian corporations, the cross-functional teamwork is very, very rampant. Now, people go meet people across functions, discuss on issues. Some challenges can be, perceived and corrected if there are cross-functional discussions. Those kind of things don't happen so much in multinationals. So
I see.
what happened was when I came on board, I realized that some of these things I was not used to. And since it was India and far away from California, some of these cross-functional decisions we started taking here, and you start creating slowly a canvas of cohesiveness around the entity, which helped, to make this more nimble, make faster. And, I used to have people coming and say, oh, this, we don't do these kind of things in California, in our corporate office. So he says, yeah, we also don't do like this in India, like what you do in corporate office. We do things differently because we are different. We are India, you are US. But it's the same entity. Finally, what is important is we have to meet the objective. As long as you're not deviating from the culture too much, you have to meet it the way an Indian company would do it, not how an American company would do it.
So there were
So
these
we
certain
made those
nuances
changes.
that you had to deal with
Yeah,
in
you have to
terms of.
tweak and people adapt and adopt to all that.
So coming again back to the book, so when you talked about this Tata Elxsi story, there would be a lot of lessons that an entrepreneur can absorb. So like Bangalore is a place full of tech startups, but is there
Huh.
something that you still feel that when you observe the world around you in terms of that whole startup ecosystem, this is now more based on the VC money, slowly graduating towards IPOs. Is that still some lesson that the tech founders are still not absorbing, if in your view?
Difficult to say that because unless you're sitting under the skin of those companies and seeing what they really do inside, it's very difficult for, say, even for me to say, though I have been sitting earlier on some advisory boards for these startups, as part of a state government initiative where we were actually funding product and hardware startups in Karnataka. And we have kind of been providing oversight to these companies over the years and seeing them, many of them being successful. some of them not so. But the challenge that I see that startups have is they're very tech driven, technology driven, and you find that many of them lack the business proficiency that they need to have to run these companies. I'm a techie. I think of a bright idea, an innovation, a new product, a new IP that I think of. I'll say, hey, now let me go to the market with this. Let me do a startup. I put a few like-minded people together, do a startup, get some funding. But then, the bigger picture of seeing, is there a market for this? What is the kind of market? Who is competition? How will I fare? What's the kind of market share I'm expecting? What's the kind of revenue model that I'm going to have in the next 3 years with this company? What is my strategy going forward? Can I keep up with competition if they come later? These questions are not generally looked at and answered very cohesively by the startup. One of the reasons why startups don't reach the end of their vision and mission is because this is not looked at very clearly. The finance angle, the business angle, when I say business, it's sales, marketing, competition, scenarios, global scenarios, local scenarios, all these things, if you address, some of them oversee because they are so technically strong and so technically focused. They wear blinkers and forget some of these things. So that is
Understood.
my
Well said, sir.
observation.
So now coming to is another question around independent director, because that's also very hot buzzword these days. So
Ah,
there's a sharper focus on the role of independent directors, the value they add to the boards, etc. So now
right.
you've been on very prestigious boards, Startup Lake, Quest Corp, Prime Focus. Now, when you look at it from an independent director lens, and when we are doing a theme around leadership, so what is that one question that leadership teams still are not asking themselves? When you
Hmm.
observe them from a distance as an independent director, whether in the companies that you are actively monitoring or in the world around you as you read about it. So, in terms of how we need to evolve in leadership.
Say, I cannot generalize here, but I can certainly comment on some of these things which could be done better. Is we are all always chasing today's. We should look at our tomorrows. What are we going to do as a corporation tomorrow? How much can we plan ahead? So what's happening today is on autopilot. Whether you are there, as a board member or a director or an advisor, whatever, it's already a past tense. Whatever is happening today. So the job of the independent director and the board is to provide a vision for tomorrow. Where, and how can I take this company forward tomorrow? What do you think we should be doing as an organization? You know, can we continue in the same business space that we are doing today, 3 years from now? Uh, who will be the other players there, and how are we going to be very disruptive in what we are doing so that we can stay ahead of the curve all the time? See, some of these things don't get addressed. So I, as an independent director, sit for a board meeting. We always review what has happened. How did the quarter go? What are the numbers? What is the EBITDA? What is this? How much market share? How many customers we've got? How many customers we've lost? Those kind of questions get addressed at board meeting. Are we looking at strategy? Can my time be used more valuably to provide direction rather than dissect history? So that is something I would, strongly urge all boards to look at going forward. Because
Yes,
to look at the
exactly. I think
financials, you can just send me an email and I will look at the financials. You don't have to put 10 heads together and look at the same numbers which you can look otherwise. No, unless you have some real doubts that you want to thrash out or ask or question.
I think this whole thing is run very mechanically that board needs to be circulated to independent directors with all the numbers, the PPTs,
Huh.
and one is missing out on maybe the larger impact that you could
So we
create.
should go beyond the statutory.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So coming to a very different dimension of your personality, which is photography. Now
Uh-huh.
you've had, very star-studded kind of a career, boardroom level impact on companies.
Hmm.
And along with that, it is very counterintuitive that you've had a phenomenal career in photography as well, where you won 45 international photography awards. How did that
Yes,
happen?
thank you.
And
So
how
let
did the
me
photographers I sometimes show up in the boardroom as well?
let me show off a little bit. These are all my some of my certificates on the wall behind. You can see my
Okay,
international award certificates, and the small pictures there are the pictures associated with that award. So I just put those pictures together, but there's only a fraction of uh, the awards that I've displayed behind me. So some of it is elsewhere in the house. So uh, your question was
how
how
did this happen?
this I started from my young age actually. Right from my young age I was dabbling with some cameras, which I found in my relative's house. It's a little bit of the journey is there in my book also, how it happened. But then when I went to IIT, we had a photography club over there, and I became a member of that club because of my interest. And those days we used to develop films in the studio, in your hostel, all that we used to do. Then I slowly became more and more serious. And in the last 20 years, I would say I become very passionate and a little bit of mad in this hobby, So
Okay.
it is really, I enjoy myself doing this, and I travel a lot. My wife and me, we are very habitual and ardent travelers. So that also
Mhm.
gives an opportunity to go and take a lot of pictures, when you travel.
So which camera do you use?
I currently use a mirrorless camera. I've evolved there. That is the latest fad today, which is very
Mhm.
lightweight and very powerful. And even the lenses are not humongous like the older SLR cameras. They're much more compact, you know.
Okay.
So a gear which would weigh about 8 kilos earlier, uh, it weighs about 4.5 kilos today. So it's easier to carry, and performance technology and performance wise it's very good. So I use an Olympus to answer your question, the brand. They were the first ones to come out with mirrorless cameras in the country, in the world.
So your photography journey, when it started, it would have been on those Kodak reels where you'd have to have
Yeah,
those
yeah,
reels washed.
film reels. Yeah, that's what I meant. We used to develop the film in the hostel lab and all that. That's how it
Ah,
started.
okay.
Yeah.
And another dimension, since this podcast is around leadership, so when you had this eye of a photographer, how did that
Haha.
show up in the boardroom? If you could cite some good instance around that.
Focus,
Yeah.
vision, attention to detail, planning the next move. Suppose I'm doing wildlife photography. I have to keep planning the next move to see where I can get that fellow or the other fellow, crouching in the jungle, in the bushes. So planning ahead is very, it's a tactic that you use. And all the time, you're looking at the big canvas. So you look at the big picture and then focus on what you want to shoot and then go and achieve your goals step by step, keeping the big picture in mind. So your goals and your vision are in focus all the time, and you address the small problems one after the other, and finally you achieve the whole goal that you want to do. So these, it's an analogy. It's not very 100% mirrorable, but that's what it is.
So
Yeah,
my
it
final
helps you. It
question,
helps you. Yeah. And a lot of
it,
patience. It gives you a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance. You know, you have to be committed. You have to wait. Sometimes when you go into the wild to take a picture, we have waited 3.5 hours for a particular shot. Sit in the jeep and say, just wait. It'll come. It'll happen.
so any final questions? You had such an accomplished career. In terms of some youngster who is watching this show, is wanting to make an impact on the career front, what would be your two lines of advice to such person?
Yeah, one is, be very clear as to what you want to do in life, because moment you're already stepped into the shoes of a career person, you should build your direction right from the beginning. There could be issues, there could be challenges, there could be situations where 2 or 3 or 4 years down the line you realize that this is not your cup of tea. I don't think I'm interested in doing what I'm doing currently. I'm not talking about technology. It could be in any sphere of work that you're trying to do. Immediately, I think you should step back, think properly, and if you have to switch your career, switch your tracks completely, do it. I think that's the time to do it, because at the end of the day, if you continue to do what you don't like, you will be unhappy, and everybody around you at the workplace will be unhappy. And why do you want to do that? And finally, you need to make a success for yourself. So ensure that you do what you like to do. That is important. And that's not very easy. It's very easily said than to be done. But my, observation is 70% of your awake time, you're in your workplace. Correct? You're working or you're in your workplace 70% of your awake time. The other 30 you're sleeping, you're at home and all that. And that 70% of your time, if you're not happy doing what you're doing, don't do it. Just think of the negative energy that you're circulating around your workplace, around your home if you're working from home, because you're not liking what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You will not succeed, your organization will not succeed. And so maybe that is a reason why maybe you're okay in the job, in that organization, but you're doing the wrong job in that organization. That's also a possibility. Try and switch your job. Your line of business that you're doing in the company may be wrong. That's why you're unhappy. See if there's any other possibility within the organization that you can transfer to. And then you may be happy. You don't know. That may click. It's like dating, right? You're meeting the girl that you don't like. You're bad, feeling bad. She's feeling bad. Maybe if you switch and meet another girl, maybe both of you hit it off and be happy, right?
Absolutely.
So think about it. I'm putting it very crudely and very simply.
No, that's a very apt example.
Yeah.
Because the chemistry has to match eventually.
Correct.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Lovely talking to you.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.